motion to receive and file the financials from Winterfest 2020.
Come on down.
Evening, Chair, Council.
I know we got a lot of information on here, Jared, got a lot of information on here, and I thank you for that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, and I know it's probably on here right in front of my face, exactly how much we made? The whole
Gross, I can tell you the event did $331,809.48. And the total, and then we're 40% of that, so if you scroll on the front page, Taylor's.
15,000?
Yeah, we're 151.
And then also on the donations. Can you explain about the donations, please?
Let me get to that page, I apologize. As it read, donations, Taylor Goodfellows was $3,500. Donation to Fish and Loaves was $7,500. Donation to the Taylor Conservatory, $3,500. Donation to Taylor Rotary, $2,500. And those were the ones we had kind of discussed with you guys in the inception of this event, and we thought those were worthwhile ones. And they contributed either using their grounds, assisting at the event, and plus Fish and Loaves being an outreach program in the pandemic. We thought that would be a huge boost for them to be able to make a donation back to them without them having their normal Santa's Magic Forest event at the activity building.
So we did, what, 10, 12, 13.
How many actual tickets? It looks like we were reporting about, I'm gonna say round number, 280 grand in ticket sales. How many people attended? You know, I don't need an exact number, but was it 10,000? Was it 20,000?
Sorry, through the chair. I want to say it was around 40,000 total tickets. The number went up and down quite a bit just with people purchasing, then reaching out saying they were in quarantine for 2 weeks. We saw a lot more refunds than I think we normally would, but I can double check it, but I believe it was around 40,000.
I was just curious how many people. I remember when they were here, they were telling us about one of their events had like 30,000 people, and you know, were we going to get 10? Were we going to get 20? Were we going to get 60? So the 280, I just don't know what that computes to into bodies.
I will definitely double check, but I do believe last time I had looked it was in the 40,000 range of tickets total.
Okay. So 40,000 people.
Right.
For a first time event.
Very well attended event, probably the biggest event, I don't want to even say probably, the biggest event recreation's ever put on at Heritage Park. I know it went 8 weeks roughly. It was a big event, big undertaking, but the team did very well. I think it served the community well and represented us well too. No issues, well received. Everyone who came immensely enjoyed it, so I think it was a success from our perspective, and I hope yours.
Do we give the cut to them, or do they give the cut to us? How does that process work?
Everything was done through the Universe system, so the cut was just, they got their portion out of total ticket sales per the agreement and revenues, how it was drawn in the contract. So the money was released to them, and then our money was released to us.
And they donated 10,000?
Yes, ma'am.
And who did it go to? Somebody that we recommended, or?
They pretty much let us use that into our donation schedule, and they just wanted to be a part of it and said, here's $10,000, use it for your Fish and Loaves, your Goodfellas, your Rotary, so it went into that cumulative total that we were giving them.
Okay, so is that in addition to what we've done here?
No.
The ones that you just said, there's like 16,500.
Correct, so that's what you're seeing on the donations, plus there were staffing costs that had to be baked in there, so if you put those numbers in there, it's north of. Their donation was $10,000 into us.
And it went into that amount there?
That cumulative total with donations and things like that, correct.
So I want to clarify what I think I just heard. I was expecting to see checks cut to Blue Water. Like, if I look at my paid invoice report at some point, you're saying that the money never even came to the city, that it's Universal is like a credit card processor?
Correct, it's like a ticket master.
Yeah.
So they actually hold the money, not the city?
we control the universe, so we have control of the universe account, the city did, not Blue Water. So at no time could they.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's money sitting theoretically in a universal bank account.
Yes.
And then once we decide the event's over and here's how we want to pay our bills, we don't have Universal give all the money to the city of Taylor. We tell Universal to give this much to the city, this much to Blue Water. Were other people paid out of that?
No.
It was just, they got some and we got some based on this.
Correct.
What was the reasoning for not having the money flow through the city instead of, why not have 100% of it?
I don't
In a
think
city
we
bank
could have
account.
facilitated that type of ticket sale program, where people going on, booking a ticket, if you wanna.
Well, I think, they were, again, us rushing to get this done so quickly, they were, once we got into it, they were like, are we cashing out weekly, are we cashing out monthly? We said we cannot do any of that, it has to be the event as a whole. So, I mean, they were waiting,
Yeah.
they were hoping to have the check by year-end date, and then so, until we recorded all revenue, we didn't allow anybody to take any funds out, and then they were just anxiously awaiting for their.
Yeah, I like the use of Universal and, you know, it's their technology and they got a fee for it, right? So we still got 100% of our ticket sale. It just seems like we would have wanted 100% of the money, like on whatever D-Day is, we figured out all the pluses and minuses. 100% comes to the city and then the city gives the 60% cut, whatever that number is, to Blue Water instead of Universal paying Blue
We
Water.
did, and we did try to work through, we stayed in contact with Jason, to try to understand, so we, made sure we did it correctly. We could, if that's your pleasure, next year, if we go that route, we could do it that way. We did find, like, that wouldn't affect how we pay them with disputes. There's credit card disputes. Some people literally dispute things, and until those, disputes are settled, that's why this took a bit of time to get, to you guys in front of you to this portion, because when there's disputes, they don't close out.
Yeah.
They have to go through every line item of those disputes before they finalize and say, okay, this account's reconciled now.
Just off the top of my head, my immediate reaction is all the money should come to the city and then the city should pay all the bills. That would be so, I would think that we're gonna consider doing this again because it was successful that,
And we can definitely, I think,
accounting for all the revenue through a city account versus through a universal account to me seems to make sense.
Absolutely.
And then if we could check the tickets, I'm not being nitpicky, I'm just curious, because I think it was very successful. If I'm doing the math, just 280, I don't know what we would consider an average ticket price, right? Because we had
different programs, then we started to do more with some outreach things, but yeah, there were different prices, so.
From 8 to 25,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I mean, if you just divide the 280 grand and assume maybe an average ticket was $15, that would be about 19,000 tickets.
Mhm.
So does that mean 19,000 people came, was it 14? I'd like to know, and then next year we'd set a goal of, if we got 19 this year, let's shoot for 22 next year, whatever. So it doesn't change this, I'm just curious how many people actually saw the event.
We'll pull that.
I do have a question, the sponsorships. I wasn't expecting Blue Water to get anything out of the sponsorships. My reading of the contract was 60-40, 60-40 of the net ticket sales, so the disputes, and if we gave away any freebies, however that amounted to it. And I believe the contract allowed them to keep 100% of any sponsorships they sold, but it appears these are all our sponsorships. So why wouldn't we have kept 100% of that money, especially if in the contract it doesn't offer them anything anyways?
So going back, it was 50-50 on revenues. Anything outside of the ticket sales, we were gonna go 50-50, food sales, beverage, things of all those items. Going forward, we definitely would, not doing this so quickly and not planning now, we would not do that. If they were able to obtain sponsorship, we would tell them, that's your sponsorship for the event. If we do, it's ours for the event. We probably wouldn't do the 50-50s on those type of things again.
But how did they end up with it if it wasn't in the contract?
It was in the contract.
I remember we discussed it, we were not.
Where's that in the contract?
I thought it was like, because I think I even remember asking that question, like, if we bring in why would we have to give them?
The consideration clause in the contract was 40% of net collections from admissions, monies received from merchandise and concessions sold at for the event shall be split 50/50. Blue Water shall have the right to sell and keep any sponsorship dollars it sells for the event. Unless I'm missing it, there's no reference of a 50/50 sponsorship
Sponsorship,
split.
we just referenced it as revenues and things like that, any additional revenues. So going back, we would spell it out that any sponsorships that we obtain through the city, we would not offer into a split or revenue share.